Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the trailer. As you can tell, I'm sure from the title of the video, there are some things that we need to go over. So let's get into them right away, and we're going to talk about how we're going to address them. So I had my first real trip a couple weeks ago, and it was a lot of fun. So for those of you who are just tuning into my channel for the first time, I don't post a lot of event videos, and there's a reason for that. The reason for that is I just like to interact with people when I go to these events. That's my focus. I don't go to these videos to make videos or anything like that. It's just I go there to interact with you, and that's what I love to do. And it's to the point where I'll even forget to take pictures, like for posting stuff to Instagram. So when I'm there, please come and talk to me. That's why I'm there. I come to talk with people, share what I know, share the models that I've brought, and talk to you about them. Answer questions, see what you're building. I want you to share with me what you're building. That's totally cool. So with the trailer, there are a couple of issues that I wouldn't know unless I took a long trip. So let's cover those issues and how they relate to how I attend events. So let's talk about the good things first. The good news is that I was able to fit comfortably 10 airplanes in the trailer. That includes 3 very large airplanes, one biplane that I cannot disassemble easily, and an aerobatic airplane, and a fun airplane, a couple of foamies, 2 gliders. I mean, it's on and on and on and on. And then on top of that, I still had room on the floor of the trailer for camping gear. I had not only my camping gear, but also a spare tire, which leads me to my first point. Right before, someone asked me about what I was going to do, and my solution was just going to be fix a flat. And I was like, that's fine, that'll get me to wherever I need to go. And then they posed the question, well, what if I have a blowout and I have to leave the trailer abandoned? I'm like, well, it wouldn't be the end of the world because I have the lock, but still not a great idea, like if you leave the trailer on the edge of a highway for an extended period of time, right? So I got a spare tire. It was $150. It's kind of awkward and annoying to carry around, but it's there and I have it. It's good insurance. I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. The other thing is that back when I had a couple of friends over for my birthday, there were plenty of opportunities to drain the battery, and I did that. There were 3 of us, and we were charging stuff all day, and as far as I knew, I wasn't using too much of the battery, but I had to do the math based off of what watt hours I was putting back in through the solar charge controller, and it just wasn't intuitive. And the math I was like trying to have to figure out in my head and do with the calculator on the phone, and yeah, it was just kind of annoying. So I went in and I installed a gauge. This is a $40 gauge off of Amazon. So now I know exactly how much of the battery I'm using. So that amazing. So at the event that I went to recently, it was 4 guys charging planes all day, and it was mostly cloudy to partly cloudy all day long. and we only got down to 83% on the battery. That's okay by my book. So getting to the next part, let's go in out of the wind, shall we? The other issue that I ran across was after the long trip, I got there and I realized when I got planes out, it's like, where did these screws come from? So I was checking planes and checking planes. Couldn't find a single missing screw off of the plane. And I was like, oh, these don't look like airplane screws anyway. So I put them in, the tote. And I was like, well, I'll figure it out eventually. I'll figure it out where it comes from. So I get home and I go to remove an airplane off of this shelf, and the whole shelf, like the wood itself, is shifting. And I was like, oh yeah, those screws. So the screws that go to the shelves, those are replaced with some bigger, heavier duty screws. So as I continue to observe those loosening up, I will probably have to just put some glue in there to hold those screws in. I do not want to put screws through the board because that will create a high spot, okay? I do not want those ugly things sticking out. It's just who I am. You can make fun of me all you want for being particular in that way, but that's the way it is. But it sort of leads me to the next point. In addition to this shelf entirely being loose from the screws falling out just for the vibrations of the road, this Velcro system works exceptionally well. And from all the shifting mass and everything from the trip and the Velcro pulling on them, this entire piece of carpet had lifted up. I had to put in new staples all along this. Now, to be fair, I knew that was probably going to happen. I admitted that was a temporary Band-Aid solution, just to make sure that this is actually what I want to do. And at this point, it is. So I need to look into contact cement and see what's sort of weatherproof or whatever, because the other problem that I found is that when I try to Velcro in the middle, the Velcro actually will pull up from the board. And when you do that, depending on the plane, it's not exactly as secure as it could be as if this were properly stuck to the surface all the way around. So that's next on the to-do list. That's not going anywhere. So the other thing that was sort of a good piece of feedback that I got from sharing the power system from 3 other guys. Number one, the inverter is perfect. So for handling small soldering jobs, as well as a hot glue gun, no issue at all. So that's a big plus. The big minus is that we have this situation to deal with. So over and over again, when I would recommend people to plug in, I've got this power distribution board, which is great. I've got a USB charger here. It's only 1 amp, but it works. And then these 3 switchable channels, but those are only rated at 10 amps. These 2 channels are rated at 40 amps. So having to tell people to use this channel or that channel, I couldn't just say, go charge. On top of that, 4mm banana connectors, people don't necessarily use those with their charger. On top of that, it was rainy. It was rainy at this event, so going in and out of the trailer was bringing wet onto the carpet. So with wet on the carpet, battery sitting on floor with charger made me a little nervous. So the reason I brought this home is to extend these wires. So I'm going to do that. So with that extension on that box, what does that gain me? Well, it lets me put the box on the shelf immediately next to the battery. Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory. It gets the main power off the ground, away from the wet, makes it a safer environment. But why would you also want to put it up on there? Well, when you're dealing with a charger, let alone two chargers, it gets a little cumbersome. Keeping things organized, what wires are going where, and it gets a little chaotic. And that's not bad. It's just, if you're inviting someone in to use your equipment, it's got to be dead not simple to use. Otherwise, accidents are going to happen. And when I'm at an event, the last thing I want is an accident. Now I do have a fire extinguisher there for that very reason, because, again, accidents happen and we want to prevent them. But I think we could go a little step further to make this a little more dummy-proof. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you guys are dummies, and when you come to the trailer, I'm going to think you're a dummy. It's just I don't want to take the time to teach you how to use my equipment. I've always been a strong advocate for, if it's going to be good equipment, then it's going to be intuitive equipment. Now, the charger that I've been using for years is, I feel like this interface a lot of people are familiar with, in terms of finding your lithium battery, which almost never changes, but then setting your different type of lithium chemistry and your charge current. I almost always charge with a balance. I know some people do a regular charge or a fast charge, but I always am using the balance charge because it works for me. I baby my batteries, admittedly so, and that's not a terrible thing. But if you're gonna have one charger up on the shelf like this, you may as well have two. So I have purchased the iSDT P20. The P10, not quite as much current as I wanted. I wanted to make sure that I had 20 amps on each side. Mostly because of selfish reasons, because of how big batteries I am going to be going to. I like flexibility. But with this, it's so dummy proof. Like, you press and hold. I am not a software guy. Okay, me and computers were great when it comes to hardware, but software, we are not friends. And for me to literally pick up this charger and learn how to use it in less than 10 minutes says something. So seriously, like, you press and hold the button, because when you press and hold the button, you can... So pressing the button does really nothing other than look at, your monitoring and stuff. But like, press and hold the button, I mean, this is pretty stupid, self-explanatory, and it auto detects almost everything, like your cell count. You scroll down, set your current. Your cutoff condition isn't going to change unless you're going to a high capacity, but even then you go to your chemistry, and there's high voltage, so you can even adjust it that way, or lithium ion, or lithium iron, or lead. I mean, it's so self-explanatory that I can just say, go figure it out. You're not going to break anything. You're not going to blow anything up. Plug it in and charge a battery. And if someone still is unsure, I can literally run it through them in 20-30 seconds and be like, look, it's so easy, so easy. So that's the charging setup. Now, I can rearrange this for different layouts and whatnot, but I went ahead and put a piece of Velcro on the back so that won't move, and I put different Velcro on the back here so that won't move and slide off the table. If anything's going to happen, someone's going to yank on this, and that's not the end of the world, because that's just going to unplug everything. Not a huge deal. So that solves that problem. Now, for those of you curious enough to ask me on the side, what do you think of the trailer? I've had it up to 70 miles an hour speed limit. I'm not one that goes faster than the speed limit. It suits me just fine. And you know, I couldn't be happier with how the whole thing tows. It's light, so I kind of have to weigh it down. It's not really noisy. It's not really jerky because it's a small trailer, and that's exactly what I wanted. So for now, the only thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get some contact cement and I'm going to redo those carpets. But that's really the only immediate changes that I have in the foreseeable future. Now, as things go along, yeah, I might change something, but it's not going to be anything major. I'm considering this project done at this point. I think that we're off to a great start. I don't know that there's much else I can do in terms of the solar rig, maybe add a battery. But as it is, I don't have a need for it just yet. If I'm doing more camping kinds of things, or, you know, say there is a time when I'm like editing on the fly on a laptop or something, and I do more YouTube videos, then yeah, I'll probably need to upgrade the inverter, maybe the battery too. But I don't know. We'll see when we get to that point. As it is, though, it's a beautiful afternoon here at my flying field, and I'm going to mow for the weekend for the rest of my club members. And until next time, guys, keep on working on your flying works of art.